What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best minion SPECTRE Necromancer build in Path of Exile 3.27. This league starter is a monster of a build that requires very little mechanical input by letting your minions do the heavy lifting while you focus on positioning and survival. One of our top skills is the Forged Frost Bearers, which launches cold projectiles that explode on impact and create a cascading wave of icy death that both clear packs and shred bosses alike. Thanks to the way that their projectiles overlap, which is an effect called the shotgunning, these specters and our minions will deal insane amount of single target damage while maintaining very high map clearing speed. And remember, if you're looking for this build's path of building, then check the link in the description. So, this version of the SPECTRE Necromancer focuses on control, consistency and the cold damage scaling through the minions. The core of this build is the Raise the Spectre gem, which lets you summon the Forged Frost Bearers, which are elite cold based minions that are very powerful. These specters will shoot cold projectiles that overlap when supported by the greater volley, meaning that multiple hits can land on the same enemy for massive burst potential. The beauty of this build is how self-sufficient it feels. Once your specters are summoned, your job is just to maintain the auras, trigger offerings and occasionally resummon the minions if needed. Most of your damage will come from scaling minion levels, the minion cast speed and the added cold or the generic minion damage modifiers. Then defensively, this build starts as a hybrid life and energy shield setup by providing solid survivability for the early mapping, and as we progress we will transition into a pure energy shield chaos build, which grants us complete immunity to the chaos damage and as much larger effective health pool as possible. Combine this with the bone offering and the high block chance and our necromancer will feel extremely sturdy. One of my most favorite parts is that this build doesn't rely on uniques, which makes it perfect for new players and solo style found leagues. However, several uniques like the Jinxed Juju, the Darkness Enthroned, Reverberation Rod and the Unending Hunger will significantly boost your quality of life and the power once you can afford them. And then later upgrades like the Dark Monarch or the Bitter Bend Point will push your damage and defenses even higher. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides Path of Exile services like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of top quality items and mirrors and much more. They also have more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 6% off. So, let's take a look at the leveling. Once you defeat Merville at the end of Act 1, you want to transition into the Absolution. Absolution will create Sentinels of Absolution, which are minions that automatically will spawn when you kill enemies with this skill. This provides effortless damage scaling without needing the micromanagement support. Alongside this, we want to grab the Holy Flame Totem for the additional coverage, and the Flesh Offering to buff our minions with increased attack speed. Your zombies will be fragile at first, so don't worry if they die frequently. Just keep them socketed so the gem levels would level up. Then by the time that we hit Act 3, your setup should look like Absolution linked to the minion damage, added lightning damage and the summon phantom support. You wanna keep vitality and clarity at low levels to maintain the mana efficiency, and then continue with the Absolution from Act 3 to 10, and once you complete the campaign and reach the early maps, then now it's finally time to swap over the main damage skill, the Raise Spectre. You'll also need to acquire the Forged Frost Bearers, either by killing them once in a map or using Desecrate in a zone when they appear. Once raised, these will become your permanent shotgunning skills. To automate some of the actions, you can craft or trade for a trigger bond. This will automatically cast offering skills when you use other abilities. Alternatively, you can link Arcanist Brand to the Desecrate and the Bone Offering to trigger them without the manual casting. Then next up we have the Ascendancy. Your first point should always go into the Commander of the Darkness. This provides increased damage and the attack speed for you and your minions, while also giving free resistances, which is perfect for smooth early progression. Then next, take the Mindless Aggression, which grants global bonuses to the minion life and the damage. It's a simple but effective boost during the leveling and the early mapping. Then our third Ascendancy is the Mistress of the Sacrifice, which is where your survivability will truly spike. This node allows Bone Offering to affect you by granting the block chance for both attacks and the spells. Combine this with your high energy shield and the Flask Sustain, and this makes you incredibly tanky. And finally, allocate the Bone Barrier. This provides massive life recovery based on your minion damage dealt, physical damage reduction and a massive temporary shield when activated. It's your emergency button and one of the strongest defenses in the game for the summoners. And then later in the progress, when you transition into the Chaos Inoculation energy setup, then you can respect auto the Commander of the Darkness into the Umbral Army from the Catherine bloodline, which will increase your defenses and letting you filled up to 12 specters. Next up we got the skill tree, and early on you will focus on the minion life, minion damage and the general survivability. Nodes like the Spiritual Aid and the Righteous Army will help to boost both your own and the minion's performance, while the Minion Defense Mastery, granting minion recovery of 5% life on a minion death, will keep your army alive through the tough fights. And then from Act 6 to 10, allocate Sovereignty and Mana Reservation Efficiency to fit in more auras. Once you enter the maps, you want to aim to reach the Death Attunement to increase your maximum number of the Spectres, and acquire a small cluster Javel with Enduring Composure for the Endurance Charge generation. And as your build matures, you want to invest into the Cluster Javels. A large cluster with a Renewal or the Feasting Friends will massively increase your minion damage, and a Fortress Covenant Javel will add tankiness and the offense to your minions. And finally, Unending Hunger will give your Spectres the Soul Eater that dramatically improve our clear speed. And then late game keystones include the Chaos Inculation, Ghost Reaver and the Zealot's Oath. These convert your life recovery into the Energy Shield regeneration and the Leech, making your build a true Energy Shield juggernaut. You can combine this with the Watcher's Eye modifiers for Determination or the Discipline to push your defenses even further. Then now, let's cover the main gem setup. Your 6-link endgame setup for the Race Spectres will include the Race Spectre, the Spell Echo, the Crater Valley, the Minion Damage and Elemental Army, as well as Cold Penetration. This combo allows your Forge Frost Bearers to shotgun enemies with the overlapping projectiles, dealing very huge cold damage while applying Elemental Exposure for even more scaling. Then for utility, link the Desecrate and the Bone Offering to either a Trigger Bond or the Arcanist Brand, so they're automatically cast. This will keep your offering up without interrupting the movement. Then auras include Purity of Elements for the full element immunity, Determination or the Discipline depending on your defensive setup, and Vitality for regeneration during the early mapping. And then later you can replace Vitality with the Malevoyance once your Energy Shield sustain is stable. Then for the movement, you run the Flame Dash or the Shield Charge linked to the faster attacks, and always keep Convocation available. It's your recall skill, by instantly pulling your enemies to your location, which is invaluable during boss phases or the heavy damage zones. Next up we have items, and we should build them around combining the strong minion scaling with stacking defenses and reliable spell suppression. Early on focus on the Hybrid Armor and the Energy Shield or the Pure Energy Shield, which is built on solid defenses while keeping enough resistances and the attributes for the gems. Then Fractured Bases are ideal for crafting, as they lack a key modifier and make them easier to perfect using the essences and the other methods. Then for damage, secure an early Trigger Bond with a +1 to minion or the spell skill damage, and craft the Trigger Sacred Spell when use a skill modifier. Then also aim for a 6-link body armor without life modifiers to benefit from the life mastery bonus, and then upgrade later to one with a +1 to maximum specters. Then also get +2 to minion helmet, Darkness Enthroned belt with the 2 Ghastly Eye Javels, and then even the Jinx Juju amulet that provides a solid offensive and defensive value. As you progress, you swap Bones of the Ul for rare boots with a +1 specter, and replace your early shield with a Bitter Pinpoint for more minions and durability. And then in the late game, transition into a full energy setup by integrating the spell suppression through the gear and the passive nodes, while enhancing equipment with the Eldritch Inker and the Emperor Implicits for the final power and resistances. And now finally, let's see how to actually play this build. Your playstyle is simple but strategic. You enter a map, summon the specters and the zombies, pop the auras, and then let your army take control. As you move through the packs, your Forged Frost Bearers will automatically shoot mortals that blanket the screen in icy explosion. You'll barely need to cast, just reposition occasionally and keep your offering up through the trigger setup. Then, when facing bosses, drop Desecrate to create corpses, cast the Bone Offering if it's not automated, and use Conviction to pull your specters into position. Once they're in the range, watch as the overlapping projectiles will shotgun the boss and delete it in seconds. And then as for your defenses, the High Block, Energy Shield Sustain, and the Bone Barrier, and even the Flask Recovery, all will allow you to survive heavy hits while staying mobile. And with the Chaos Isolation, you'll become immune to chaos damage entirely, which will make us almost immortal.